Ladies and gentlemen, um, hello everyone, and welcome to our very first English speaking episode. Um, Today I have my great friend from the Down Under, Naveen. I'll let you introduce yourself because I cannot do you justice.
Thank you, Adam. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and this is an exciting venture. I think Adam and I have always presented content in Arabic, and so we thought we would explore doing this in the English language. We're both Egyptian. We both live in Australia, as you might know if you've seen us or heard from us before. And we are, as Adam said, great friends. And we're looking forward to starting this exciting new venture.
Absolutely. Quick intro about myself. My name is Adam Al Masri. If you stumbled upon this video by chance, I do have another official. Sorry, not official. Well, they're both
Well, it
official.
is.
I have another channel.
Yeah.
Another channel that I present a lot of material in Arabic, mainly around philosophy, religious criticism, and humanitarian arguments. And again, generally speaking, standing up for women rights, equality of all sexes, and no racism, and a lot of other issues that we talk about in the other channel. Naveen is doing kind of the same work on her own channel and with other people, often on interviews and stuff like that. And this is our very first episode in English, and we chose a very interesting topic um, to talk about tonight. And the topic is drum roll.
What should
That's it.
women wear?
Exactly. What should women wear?
Sure, whatever they want. But it's
Well,
not
that
that
doesn't
simple,
seem.
is it?
It doesn't seem that this is how the work is going these days. Let me give you a bit of context for whoever is watching us. The topic of tonight is triggered by two incidents or two articles that I came across recently, that I read about, which almost made me furious when I read about them. So the first one was Europe is introducing new legislations around neutrality, and it's a very sneaky way to put it, to be honest. So, in order for any business to remain neutral, rejecting to have any political views or religious views, or actually not views, political image or religious image, they are now allowed to ban certain religious symbols, i.e., for the sake of this topic, the hijab. And they're not considering it in any way discrimination against Muslims or women or anything. It's mainly coming from neutrality. They want the business to remain neutral. The second topic that I came across in the same week is from the Olympics, when the beach handball team, the women's beach handball, I think it was the Norwegian team, they did not appear in the traditional bikinis that are set to be the formal wear for this sports. They refused. They appeared in shorts. They played their game, but to the surprise of many, they were fined for not wearing the appropriate. What's the word? It's not uniform. It's the appropriate sportswear for this sport. On a trivial note, I'm not sure if you heard Naveen or not, but Pink, the singer, offered to pay their fine, and she stood up for them, and she said, "Well, this is absolutely ridiculous and outrageous. I'm prepared to pay the whole fine for the Norwegian team. Good on you, girls." That's on the side, but so yeah, coming from these topics, I realized how much I don't know, attention is the word,
Mm.
not minding your own business is also another word. How much we're putting our noses and digging our fingers in someone else's pie that
Yeah.
doesn't really belong to us. Well, when are we going to stop telling women what to wear? Hence the title of the episode, What Women Should Wear. I'll, uh, I'll hand you the mic, and I'm really interested to know your view and your stand on this.
Okay. So, what do people wear? Why do we wear clothes? We wear clothes because we need to protect ourselves from the weather, because we need to express our style. It could be affected by culture. It could be, every culture has their own folk type costumes that they are proud of, and these are pretty legitimate reasons for wearing what you would want to wear. We wear different clothes to go to work than what we would wear to go out on the town, sorry. Or what we would wear for, going for a swim is different to what we would wear going to church. And that's all quite reasonable and understandable. What's not reasonable is assuming that what a person wears expresses anything about their morals or their value as an individual. What's not reasonable is to impose something, some sort of form of dress on someone for no reason except to control them. And that's what's happening in a lot of parts in the world. We are talking about, Western societies here. We're talking about the Norwegian Olympic team, the Olympic handball team, and also, actually, incidentally, the German gymnastics team also chose to wear like long leotards rather than wearing the traditional bikini sort of leotards. So we're talking about, in that context, Western women who grew up in what we would say relatively free societies that don't impose any sort of form of way of dressing on a woman to control her or to try to express something about her her morals or the morals of her family, as we would see in countries where we come from. So from our Egyptian background, any Arabic speaking countries, Islamic countries, that's what you see there. You see what women wear is set by society as a way of controlling her, as a way of, making sure that she looks right. And so we see this happening in Western countries where women are saying, I'd like to choose what to wear to make me comfortable so I can do what I'm here to do, and that is to play sport in these situations. And so the bikinis for the handball team, they said, well, they're uncomfortable. It's not practical. It's painful sometimes. You get a lot of sand that, shouldn't get in these areas that way. And so it's uncomfortable. I'm not able to do what I'm here to do, and that is to play my sport, play it well, and win. And there was something about objectifying women said as well. They were saying, we don't want to be objectified. We don't want to feel like we're on show here. Our bodies are on show. And I say, sorry, excuse me. And I say, good for them. They have every right to do that. They have every right to say that. They have every right to feel that and actually demand that they are treated equally as equal, on equal par with their male counterparts. So that's one way of looking at things. This is one perspective. I'm wanting to tell you how this was viewed in other societies. I don't know if you want to keep that for later.
Before you step into that, Naveen, I actually find it a little upsetting and a little, take it with a grain of salt here. It is upsetting that women has to justify why they don't need like the stuff that you just said, because the sand gets somewhere, or because it doesn't feel comfortable or uncomfortable. I mean, at the end of the day, I even disagree that a woman or a person, to be honest, a man or a woman, the reason we're talking about women today is that because they are the gender that suffers most from this issue.
With
Our
clothing,
argument, yeah, but our argument, I guess, stands for anyone and everyone. You should not justify what to wear or what not to wear, and everyone should really mind their own business. But when it comes to sports and stuff like that, do you think it's a slippery slope? Do you think because, of course, we have uniforms or sports image that we're trying to present, does that give us the right to dictate to someone what to wear and what not to wear in the name of, oh, this is the image of the sport, or this is the image of the business, or whatever? What do you think of that?
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, you don't want, I don't know, you don't want people turning up to play tennis wearing tracksuit pants or something. I mean, that's fine, that's fair enough. Or you don't want, people turning up for a swimming event wearing a dress. To a certain extent, you do have the right to impose standards for what the player's outfit should look like. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's not to say that as a player, you have no right to object and say, actually, I don't agree with this, and these are my reasons. I understand what you're saying about it's sad that, why should anyone have to give a reason anyway? Well, in this context, I can understand why they're giving reasons. This is an outfit that's been imposed by the governing body of the sport on people who play this sport. And so when it's kind of like policy, it's kind of like, a rule that as a player I need to abide by. And so if I don't want to abide by that rule, I need to give a reason why. Like if my work uniform has to be, I don't know, a white shirt and blue pants, and I, for some reason, just don't want to wear blue pants, I want to wear green pants, I need to give them a reason why. I can't just turn up in green pants and expect that they'll agree. So to a certain extent, I can understand why the players had to give reasons why they didn't agree with the outfit.
Sorry to interrupt, Naveen. I partially agree to what you're saying under one condition. If the other party also gave reason why they chose what they chose. So I then feel inclined to give. So basically, let me put it this way. Going by your example, you're expected to go in blue pants, and you shouldn't really go and show up in green pants. If the blue pants is part of a branding, because this is part of a brand color for the business, I understand. If it's part of a particular image that the business is trying to convey, I may understand. And then I feel like, okay, if I really don't want to wear the blue pants, I should give a reason why not, because you also have reason for why yes. However, I find it outrageous that the sport, let's go by the bikinis for for the handball. Not only that they insist players to wear bikinis, they actually specify the measure that the bikini cannot be wider than 10 centimeters around certain areas of your body. Now, this is, I will bleep the swear word here. Yeah. This is, let's go by ridiculous. It's a much appropriate language.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. It's not wearing a bikini. It's 10 centimeters with. Sorry. In that particular case, I do not agree that women should give reason why I would like a 12 centimeter bikini or a 15. This is absolutely stupid.
I know. It is, and there's no logical reason why they imposed the bikini on the women that I can think of, other than what the girls said. They said, it's just to objectify us. We want people to come to see the sport, not to look at our bodies. And you know what? Yeah, that's right. And it seems like that is the only reason, because why else would you do that? Why wouldn't you just say, wear shorts like the guys do? You know? But at the end of the day, I'm glad they took a stance and made their voice heard. And I'm glad that the Norwegian body of handball decided to stand by the players and say, yep, we're going to pay the fine for them. And I'm glad, like you were saying, Pink wanted to do the same. Good on her. And I fully support them, and I fully support the German team as well, the gymnastics team, for saying, well, we just want to wear long leotards. They didn't actually give any reasons. They just said, we just want to. It's more comfortable. It's more practical. That's it. We just want to. And a lot of women, you know, I've seen reports about women in sport, especially Australian women in sport. And it does happen that women come across a lot of, you know, male, sort of, it's a male-dominated area, like most things, like politics, especially politics. In recent months, we've had that scandal in Parliament. And so a lot of this is coming up to the surface now, and that's good. It's good things are being discussed. So a lot of sports women say that they come across a lot of chauvinistic behavior, and they sort
Sexual
of
abuse. Let's not sugarcoat
well,
it.
in some instances, yeah, it does get to sexual abuse. Yeah. So it's good. People are talking about it. People are making their voices heard, and that's the main thing to come out of this with, that enough is enough, and they're not going to take it for much longer. And you know what? No one's going to take it for much longer, because right now, when things like this come up, it's not just the people affected who talk about it. There's a lot of support in the community for this. Like, we're talking about it here. There are other people writing and talking about it. Rightfully so. That's the way it should be. I just want to tell you something I remembered while we were talking. There's a morning show. I don't know if it's Australia-wide or just in Melbourne, but it was Carl.
The results, right? You cut out.
A morning show, like one of those morning shows. Yeah. Carl Stevanovic, and I forgot his partner's name. I'm really bad with names. I'm sorry.
It's the Australian morning show. Yeah.
Yeah. And they did an experiment, because she used to get a lot of comments about what she wore, and he never did. He would get comments about the interviews he made, or, you know, whatever stuff he was presenting, but she would always get comments about what she was wearing. So they did an experiment where he wore the exact same outfit every day for a month. He didn't change not one bit, the exact same colors.
Wow.
No one noticed.
Wow.
And so that goes to show you. It goes to show you, like, we're talking, you know, and I keep going back to this, I know, but I can't get away from this mindset of comparing it to where we come from, because obviously that's something I'm passionate about the rights of women in those communities, those societies in Egypt and in other Arab countries. And so that's something I'm really deeply passionate about, and it's something that I always talk about. And so when I can't help comparing, and it's not to lessen from what's happening here or in Germany or in Norway or wherever else, but just to give it some perspective, because we're going to talk about the veil very soon. It's a whole different context when we talk about the veil in the context you talked about at the beginning of this episode, than what women face in those societies. Like, we're talking here about the freedom of the players to choose what is more comfortable and practical for them, the freedom of people to choose to wear or not to wear whatever they want. Over there,
exactly,
we're talking from the other side, where that freedom is non-existent. It's only a one-way freedom. It's the freedom to wear the veil, but not to take it off or to choose not to wear it. And so it goes to show you that we have a long way to go. Even in societies where we think we've come a long way, we still have a long way to go. And so I just like anyone who's listening who is not in touch with third world countries or Arabic speaking countries to keep that in mind, to put that in context, that appreciate the freedoms you have and don't give it up so easily. There are other people who are way back behind you. And so don't give up on your freedoms. Don't give up on your right to demand equality and respect. Because once, it's like a wave. If we keep moving forward, we'll pull other people forward with us. But if we give up on the fight when we've come so far, if we give up on the fight now, then everybody goes backwards, and we don't want that. So yeah. I don't know if that made any sense, but it made sense in my head.
It does make sense, especially if someone is familiar with the Middle East. However, what may appear on the surface as two different arguments, I think it's at the core, it's the same argument. So here in the Western world, women are forced to wear bikinis and reveal, and they're standing up for themselves. And we're saying, no, you shouldn't dictate to women what they wear and how much of their body they need to reveal. In the Middle East, it's quite the opposite argument. Women are forced to wear the hijab or the niqab, and we're saying, come on. Again, it's the same issue. You shouldn't tell women to cover up. And often in the Middle East, it's interesting because in the Middle East, especially in Egypt, where we came from, it's often taken the wrong way when we say you shouldn't force the women to wear the hijab and the niqab. Oh, okay, so yeah, of course, you as non-believers or atheists, you want them naked and exposed because you don't have any sense of morality, and of course you want to expose our women. Not really, because now we're fighting for the completely opposite side of the argument. You also shouldn't force women to reveal and expose what they are not comfortable to. So the key point is, if anyone is missing it, I hear it loud and clear in my head as well. Stop telling women what to wear and what not to wear. It is a personal choice, and a woman is capable of making that choice for herself.
Indeed. She should be. She should very well be able to do that for herself. And the idea that a woman dresses up to attract attention, or a woman dresses up to so that people can look at her or look at what she's wearing, most of the time, speaking as a woman, we wear what we wear because we like it. Basically, simply, just like any guy would choose a shirt that he likes, or a pair of pants that he likes, or whatever else that he might like to wear, like whatever. But that's basically it. It's a way to express ourselves. It's a way to say, I like these colors. I like this style. This is me. I am conservative, or I am a quiet person. I'm a shy girl, or no, I'm an outgoing, loud woman who likes loud colors. And that's basically it. At the core of it, that's what makes people choose what to wear. So stop making it about attracting attention or objectifying women or covering up women, or covering up or uncovering is basically the same thing. In both sides of the argument, you're saying that she's an object that I need to expose and look at, and let's look at her body, and people are coming to watch this game so that they can look at beautiful athletic bodies. On the other side is, she's an object. I need to cover her up. She's mine. She doesn't belong to herself. And so in both cases, really, lay off.
Mm-hmm. There's an important thing here I want to add to what you're saying, and then I'll follow up with, as usual, changing hats and putting the devil's advocate hat. But before I do that, as I mentioned earlier at the start of the live, both Naveen and I, we we have other channels that we often criticize religion on, and not only religion, but a lot of other topics and philosophical and sociological topics. But for anyone who don't know us, or for those who are familiar with our work, we criticize Islam a lot. However, and I, as a person, I'll speak for myself. I cannot speak on behalf of Naveen here, but I, for myself, I'm a person who does not like the hijab in general. I'm kind of against the hijab. However, I, even though I'm against it and I criticize Islam and I do not like the hijab for women, I still stand by the right. If a woman chooses willingly by herself to wear the hijab, again, it's not anyone's business to tell her to take it off. Same as if a woman chooses to wear a bikini, it's not anyone's business to tell her to cover up. It's exactly the same concept. But I guess it's much stronger when you defend something that you actually don't necessarily like. I'm not sure if anyone heard that saying before. I may disagree with your opinion, but I will die for you to express it and to have a voice, even if I disagree with what your voice is saying. But um, that said, I'm not sure, Naveen, if you want to say anything before I push something at you as the devil's advocate, as always.
I just want to comment on that thing about liking or disliking hijab. And I talked about this before briefly there's like one single episode, one single live stream that I did in English on my channel, and I talked about it briefly then. There's a yearly event called World Hijab Day. I think it's on the 2nd of February of every year, and it is for Western societies to acknowledge a Muslim woman's right to wear the hijab in wherever she's living, like in Australia, Europe, or America, or Canada. And a couple of years ago, a thought occurred to me that I don't want to support that. Not because I don't support a Muslim woman's right to wear the hijab, but I supported instead a no hijab day event that Muslim women who live in the West and the East have decided to do at the same time. And why they did that was because they felt that a woman's right to wear what she wants is actually protected by law in any free, secular Western society. It is true that people are idiots and some people might, not really respect that right. And that's understandable, and that happens, and that's inexcusable, and I don't condone that in any way. But at the very least, she has her right protected by law. And so if someone annoys a woman for wearing the hijab on the street here in Australia, which might happen, she has the right to go and report this person, and she has the right to do that. But these Muslim women and Arabic-speaking women felt that there's so many millions of women living in Arabic-speaking and Islamic countries who are forced to wear the veil, are forced to not express their opinion about wearing the veil, and they can't take it off if they choose to, and they are met with violence at a lot of times. And so defending the freedom or saying that I am free to choose something entails that I have to be able to say no to it before my right to say yes to it. So my right to refuse has to come first in order for me to say that I am really free to wear this. I have to be equally as free to say, no, I don't want to wear it. And so these women decided to make it a priority to defend the right to say no before they defend the right to say yes, because that's when it really becomes freedom. I know I might be losing you there a little bit, but I don't want it to be misunderstood that I'm against women wearing the hijab in Western countries, or I don't respect their right. I do. I totally, wholeheartedly respect a woman's right to wear what she wants wherever she may be. It's just that sometimes we choose our battles based on other priorities, and that's great. They can go ahead with the World Hijab Day, and I support them, but I chose to fight my battle where women are met with violence, with absolute violence. A few months ago, a girl was actually killed because she wanted to take her veil off and her family wouldn't allow it, and that happened in El Fayoum in Egypt. And so, you know, from where I sit, I see that defending the right to say no is my priority. Having said that, there's a lot that we can say about the hijab in Islamic countries and how it's like in a country where we come from. It's actually a political symbol more than it is a religious symbol. So there's a lot that can be said there, but I don't think, you know, this is the stream for it, I guess. We're just talking about a woman's right to choose. So,
fair enough. I guess repeating the message over and over, what Naveen and I stand for here today is it's not about the yes or the no, even though I agree with what she said about freedom starts with the right to reject and to say no. But in general, our message is yes or no that comes from a misogynistic society telling women what to wear or what not to wear, the positive or the negative, the for or the against, needs to stop. It's no longer a man's role or a misogynistic society's role to tell women what they need to do or to look like. Otherwise, they will be judged on their morality or, well, coming to that point, I would like to present some of the most common arguments, especially the ones that we hear often in the Middle East, in our country. I often hear the following, and for anyone watching, I'm playing the devil's advocate here. um, so, one comment, let me put this because someone just said that comment here, which I kind of agree to some extent that it happens. So basically, for anyone who's not from the Middle East, often what happens is the men themselves, the husbands or the fathers of a woman or a girl who refuses to wear the hijab or or takes it off, these men are under pressure by society. They're called names. They're bullied. The youth is one of the words that it's actually an insult. Ultimately, in if I translate it to English, it means you're not man enough. Um, you're not man enough because you're letting your wife or your daughter to go out of the house without a veil. You're unable to set rules and all that. So first, I guess first question for you, Naveen, is: do you think that men are under pressure?
yeah.
And you do. You
I do
agree to that.
actually. I do, and it's a form of terrorism. You know, terrorism doesn't just mean that you pick up a weapon and go kill someone. You can actually terrorize someone on so many levels, and one of those is they started off by terrorizing the women. That if you don't wear long clothes and cover your hair and cover your body, then you're considered of ill repute. You're not a nice girl. You're cheap. And so this went so far. And then they thought, well, why don't we also attack the men? Because they found that, and by saying they, I'm talking about the, the conservative right, shall we say? We want to be nice.
Yeah.
The conservative right, the religious right, who in the 80s in Egypt, they gained a lot of momentum, and they had a lot of presence in Egypt, and so they sought to change the way society looked. Egypt prior to that, like in the 60s and 70s, was very different. It looked different. Egyptian women looked different, had a bit more freedom, considerably a lot more freedom actually, to choose what they wore than what started to happen after the 80s. And so it was like there were men who were quite happy to defend the rights of their wives and daughters and sisters to wear what they want. And that was no good. We couldn't have that. We can't have a free thinking, a liberal thinking woman and a liberal thinking man. Well, we need to fight on both fronts. And then the youth thing started to appear with vengeance. And it was like everywhere. Like growing up, I never used to hear that. Like it wasn't a thing. I grew up in the 80s. By the time we hit the 90s and the noughties, it became a thing. It was like, this is what you call a man who is not stern enough, who's not making his wife cover up. There was a well-known imam, a well-known like religious figure in Egypt, a very famous person, had a lot of followers, who actually explicitly said that a man whose wife is not wearing the veil has every right to doubt his children's what's the word? That his children are his own, his parent, his paternity to his children. And so
Wow.
this way of thinking started to spread like wildfire. And so suddenly women were faced with, the prospect of being called cheap and of ill repute. Men were faced with the prospect of being called, well, you're not man enough. And this is something, you can't have that in a conservative society like Egypt and others like it. We're just talking about Egypt because that's what we know. That's where we grew up. And this was one of the weapons. So not all men are under that pressure, but some men are. Men who were on the edge, he could go either way. He was like, he could be swayed to defend his daughter's right to take the veil off or to wear shorts or to go swimming. If he could be swayed, this just sort of brought him back into line. It's like, oh no, I can't do that. So some men are under pressure, yeah.
Totally, and that is the reason why I think from my, well, in my opinion, the way to deal with this problem is to stop men altogether to say what women need to wear and what's not, because you can use men as a pressure tool to for as long as men has the ability to dictate what women should wear and should not wear, you can use men as pressure. What we need to do now is any man should be able to say, well, it's why your wife is wearing this or why your daughter is wearing that. It should be a natural response, is like, ask her, like, why you're asking me. But I think we're long way from that point.
Yeah,
Especially in the Middle East.
You know what? There was one thing that made me just sort of glow with happiness when I heard it. There's an Egyptian doctor. She's a lovely, beautiful, beautiful lady. I did a live stream with her about violence against women in Arabic society, and her name is Heba Derbela. And she told of a story about when she went to Saudi Arabia to work with her husband. It was her husband went to work and he took the family along. And his sort of his sponsor, because everyone who gets a permit to work in Saudi Arabia has to have a Saudi sponsor. And his sponsor sort of said to him, like when she went, she wore the veil to respect the tradition of the society, but she didn't cover her face. And this is going back a few years, maybe a couple of decades even. And his sponsor said to her husband, your wife is lovely, but shouldn't she, cover up? Because he considered that her showing her face was like, oh my God, she's naked. And her husband said to him, oh, you mean because her face is showing? Oh, you should see her in Egypt. She doesn't even wear anything on her head, and she wears short sleeves, short dresses. And, when we go to the beach, she's out in the water and stuff. And the Saudi man was shocked. He was like, oh, okay. And the Heber's husband said to him, you really have no right to even raise the subject. So I think we should consider this the first and the last time we talk about this. Otherwise, I'm
Wow.
taking my family and going back to Egypt. And this is someone from sort of our parents' generation, maybe, or maybe our uncles' generation. It's not. This is someone you don't expect to do that. Yet there he was. And so this story, when I heard her say it, it was like, oh, this is beautiful. What a beautiful man. So there is hope.
Totally. Yeah. Our hope is in these kind of men, I guess. What do you think, or what would you say to people coming from the argument that in our society in the Middle East, I have to protect my woman, my daughter, wife. We're living in a very vicious society, I guess, and um, I'm forcing protection on my daughter or my wife because I know she's not safe if she goes out showing her hair or wearing immodest clothing. So some people may say these words as like, I'm not the one objectifying my daughter or my wife, but I'm forced to take these sort of actions in order to protect her in an objectifying society. What do you think? And any thoughts around this?
It doesn't make a difference. It absolutely makes no difference because, and this is actually what I was going to go on and talk about in the very start of the stream, um, because in those societies they still think that what a woman wears is sort of, it might bring on unwanted attention, and it might be the cause of her being the victim of sexual harassment or even sexual assault in some cases. And so that's the thought over there, that they think that if I walk around in short sleeves or a short dress, then if somebody should touch me inappropriately on the street, then it's my fault. So we're talking, take yourself back. If you are from Australia, for example, take yourself back, to the 50s, that kind of way of thinking. But it makes no difference. And we know it makes no difference because we've seen, even with the rise in wearing the hijab and the niqab, covering up even her face, with the rise in that, those women get sexually harassed as well. It,
Totally.
it hasn't changed anything. In fact, that a country like Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia or Egypt, where women are mostly covered up, and in Afghanistan they're completely covered up all of the time, there's a higher incidence of women coming across sexual violence from strangers and within their families or friends or whatever, like people they know. So it doesn't change anything. If you think that a woman's dress is an excuse or a reason that brings on sexual violence? No, it doesn't actually, because a person who's committing sexual violence, whether it's saying something to her on the street, staring at her, touching her, going all the way to a full-on sexual assault, that person is not seeking gratification like in the usual sense. He's not aroused by her. He's aroused by the idea of objectifying or conquering her, or feeling or victimizing her. He wants to victimize the woman so that he can feel good about himself. That's what arouses him. She could be wearing a sack of potatoes, she could be wearing an evening gown or a bikini or a hijab or whatever. That's not what he's after. He's after victimizing her. I can understand to a certain extent, because, I grew up in a very conservative family. Yes, we weren't Muslim and I wasn't required to wear a veil. But my dad's way of thinking was always, I trust you, but I don't trust the society. I don't trust the people that you will meet out on the street. I don't trust people you will catch transport with. And I can sympathize with that, because now I have 2 daughters. And even though I live here, I worry about them. I know they're good kids, but I worry about the people that they will come across. And I understand that. I sympathize with people who think like that. But we can't all sort of give in to that terrorism, because that is another form of terrorism. If you don't wear what we tell you to wear, we will touch you on the street. We will, whistle at you. We will invade your privacy somehow, and we will say you were asking for it. That, to me, is a form of terrorism. So
Absolutely.
you can't negotiate with terrorists, really.
Yeah, we do not negotiate with terrorists. I guess the problem is coming from the obsession of what women wear rather than actually what women wear. And to prove that point, there's another article that I came across recently. I'm pretty sure that you came across it too, Nivane. Just for anyone who's watching us, there is this fashion designer in Egypt who, in recent years, designed something called burkini. What burkini is, basically, it's a swimwear for the Muslim woman. So instead of wearing a one-piece swimwear or a bikini, she invented or designed this swimwear that looks like hijab, but anyway, made from.
You know what it's like?
Yeah.
For anyone, any Aussies watching, Ian Thorpe. You know how Ian Thorpe wears the full body? That's basically it with a hair cap, basically.
It's like a lycra suit, almost.
Yeah, it's a wetsuit.
Like a diver. It's like a diver.
That's right.
So anyway, and then of course some women who felt comfortable wearing these in swimming pools, they put on the burkinis and they went to the swimming pool, where to their shock and dismay, they have been rejected entry to the pool, to use the pool in burkini. And basically the rule is yes.
Yeah.
You haven't heard that, have you?
Oh, I have. I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the same thing. I thought this happened here as well.
No. I believe it wouldn't happen here, but until someone proved me wrong. But this is funny, because it happened in the Middle East, where we actually force women to wear hijab and niqab. When women went to the swimming pool wearing burkini, they were refused to enter the swimming pool because, these are 5 stars facilities, and we have tourists and high-profile people. You cannot just go in there wearing that, whatever that is. It honestly blew me away, in a negative sense, obviously. So again, we are the same society that forces hijab and niqab, We're the same society who forces bikini and swimwear in other areas. The problem is not to cover up or not to cover up or to reveal your body. Problem is the obsession that we have a say, that we're supposed to tell women what they should wear, whether that is as little or as much. Uh, yeah, it just
If
cannot
you allow me to
fathom.
shed some light on that, because
Please.
I followed that topic, and I follow that topic every year because it seems to come out every June, July of every year, because that's when summer season and people start going to the beach and to the pools. And every year there is a woman saying, I went to a pool wearing my burkini and they wouldn't let me in. Or there's a sign at the pool that I want to go to that says, don't, wearing burkinis is not allowed. And I can, on principle, I agree that this is not right. You can't do that. Like, if she wants to wear that, she should be able to wear that. I just want to go to what you said about the that funny, we are forcing women to cover up, yet we don't want them to wear the burkini. And how do you do that? Because let me also shed some light on that as well. That people who want women to cover up don't consider the burkini covering up, because a hijab, in their definition, has to be something that's loose. You can't be able to tell a woman's details of her body. It got, to the extent that a woman shouldn't be able to wear a belt on her hijab clothes, because a belt makes you see that you have a waist, and you shouldn't be able to see that, because then people can see your waist and your hips, and you can't do
Emphasizes
that.
the chest. And
Yeah, exactly. And so a real hijab is meant to, hijab in Arabic means barrier, really, or yeah, barrier. And so you need to put a barrier between your body and your beauty and other men, other people who shouldn't be able to see that. And so it shouldn't emphasize anything about the body. So it has to be loose. The veil has to cover the neck. You can't be able to see not even the ankles. You can't do this. It has to be all the way down. So it's only your hands and your face that are showing. So that's real hijab. Putting that aside, because of course that doesn't happen, and in Egypt women wear pants and a veil. Like, there are a lot of women who wear what anyone would be able to wear, like what I'm wearing. They would be able to wear that, but they would just put a veil that would cover their chest and neck. But this is where that sort of funny, sort of two opposites of, we're making them cover up but we don't want them to cover up. Well, it's not considered covering up, because a burkini shows every little detail in your body. I would never be able to wear it, to be honest. It takes a lot of courage to wear something like that, like just walking around in a wetsuit, for God's sake. So if a woman wants to wear that, all power to her. The other thing is about, in Egypt, refusing entry to women who are wearing burkinis. We're talking about a different culture altogether. We're talking about a mainstream and a majority of people who think that a woman who's uncovered is necessarily cheap. They have that thought, they have that look, they have that way of looking at women. That's like public opinion. If the less clothes you have on, the less morals you have. And so you can't go to just any public beach and wear not even a one-piece bathing suit, because not only you would get looked at as if you've just descended from an alien ship, but you may even be harassed by a group of men, not just one guy. We're talking about mass harassment. And that has happened in the past. not at beaches, but on streets where there was a woman coming back from a wedding and she was just wearing a short dress, an evening dress or whatever. And she was followed by hordes of men who chased her and pulled at her clothes until, the poor woman was completely in a state and she had to run into a building and hide in a restaurant. And it was an ordeal. This happened twice. This one time that I'm telling you about, and another time, late 2019, early 2020. And so this is the mainstream. And I'm very sad that I'm saying this, because this is a place where, I was born there, I was raised there, I belong to that place. What happens is there's a portion of society who are liberal thinking, who don't want to cover up, who don't think that if you're wearing a bikini or a one piece or even just a dress and sit at the pool, they think that I should be able to do that. They should be able to do that. And they shouldn't have people sitting around them who are looking them up and down and saying, look at you, you naked, cheap, whatever. And so some places, some hotels, and some resorts will have a pool that is no veil. You don't wear a veil, you don't wear a burkini in that pool. It's just for people who are wearing bathing suits. Other pools in the same resort or hotel will allow entry to anyone. And so what we're talking about 96% of the country, whether in public beaches or private pools and beaches, that you're able to wear whatever you want. You're able to wear a burqa, you're able to wear a burkini, you're able to wear one piece, a bikini, whatever. But there's no law that says you can't wear a bikini, but if you do, you need to be able to deal with the consequences. And most of the time, they're not good. And we're talking about 3 or 4% of places who said, we just want people to just wear what they want and not have to put up with being looked at like they're cheap whores. I'm sorry, but that's what happens. We're not talking about a free society by any stretch of the imagination. If this happened in Australia, I would make noise about it. If this happened in America, I would make noise about it. But this happening in Egypt, I feel that, like it or not, it's kind of a reaction to the prejudice non-veiled women are met with. So as a non-veiled woman, you are met with a lot of prejudice in your everyday dealings. And you're met with it at uni, in the, places where you don't have the luxury of going somewhere else to do this. Like if I'm going to uni, I'm going to uni. What am I going to do? And there was this case of the uni student who went to her exam and she was wearing a dress that was knee length, and the sleeves were 3/4 like this and closed right up to the neck. Lovely 19 or 20-year-old going to her exam, and she had one of the people observing, watching, inspecting, I can't remember, supervising the exam, call her out to the front and make a scene about what she was wearing and call other colleagues and say, look at her, look at how her legs, what, did you forget to wear your pants today, honey? And she had her ID card, and in the ID card she was wearing a veil, and she goes, oh, so you used to be a good girl and you decided to become cheap? And she paraded her in front of other colleagues. And so this girl hasn't got the luxury to go somewhere else to do her exam. But a woman wearing a bikini has the luxury of going to 96% of places in Egypt, where the public beaches, public pools, private pools and private beaches, who allow her to do that. And it's only that tiny little margin where people have said, because even women who are wearing the burkini and going to the beach, the men in their family and them look at women wearing bathing suits like they are cheap whores. And they don't want that. They just want to wear what they want and be free and not be looked at that way. And so, in principle, I agree it shouldn't happen. But in reality, we need to put it into context. I hope I know I talk too much, but I hope I've shed a little bit of light on the subject.
That was great and well needed, I guess, because some people need that bit of a context. The issue is not limited to swimming pools. The issue is not limited to covering up or revealing. The issue is, you know what? This might be slightly off topic, but it reminded me of a meme or a picture I saw recently about a cafe, a coffee shop in Egypt, in one of the Upper Egypt smaller towns, and it said literally that they had okay. So on that coffee shop, they had a big banner um, saying the city council of this town, رئاسة الحي of this town, تشكر المقهى. The city council thanks the cafe for not serving shisha to women, the smoking, the habli, to women, to maintain our tradition and good image of our
Of course.
well-respected town,
Yeah.
as if the town is shaken by women smoking shit. It's bloody the same thing. It's we try to control what women should say and not say, where and what not wear, smoke or not. It's an obsession with controlling women, and the most obvious one is clothing, I guess. Um, I just realized that we exceeded the hour already,
Oh,
so
wow.
we're we're coming down to the end of our time. Is there anything you would like to say before we start wrapping up?
No, I totally agree. It's all about controlling a woman's life and a woman's way of thinking. Even, I'll tell you briefly a situation that sort of made it so clear to me that this, oh wow, this is really how they think. There was a group of girls, a group of university students in one of Upper Egypt towns, El Minya, who decided to to ride bikes to uni to avoid getting crammed into crowded buses. And they thought it's a sport, it's nice, we'll just ride our bikes to uni. And they made sort of like a little club, and they had a Facebook page, and people were outraged. There were so many comments saying, oh my god, this is outrageous, what are you talking about, riding a bike to uni? And most people were saying, but then, like, your legs are moving in front of everyone. A woman has legs, who knew? And there was one comment that really brought it home to me, because I was reading all these comments and saying, what is your deal, people? One guy said, he said that, like, your legs will be out there moving in front of everyone. And some other guy said to him, but they said they don't want to be crammed into buses so they don't get, sexually harassed on a bus, somebody saying something or touching them or whatever. And his reply was, a woman catching a bus and being felt up against her will is okay, but her choosing to go out and parade her body like that in front of strange men, that can't happen. And so this is what upset them, that if something happens to you against your will, we don't care, that's fine. But at least, it's against your will. But you making a free choice to wear something or to ride a bike or to
How dare you?
do
Free
whatever,
choice.
we can't have that. We can't have women making a choice. And that's why, like, we've left the topic of the Norwegian and the German women way behind in the stream now, and I want to just bring it back to the forefront now, because it's the same thing. A woman has to be able to make her own choice. You can't treat a woman like, it's okay, you just sit there, we're going to think for you, we're going to tell you what you should wear, we're going to tell you what's comfortable for you, we're going to tell you what's decent, we're going to tell you what we accept. No, she has the right to say what she wants and what she accepts or what she rejects. And so that's what it comes down to. No matter how liberal or advanced or free a society might seem, you will always find an undercurrent, sort of notions here and there of that old way of thinking, of that a woman's life is not her own; it's the society's property. We all tell you how to behave, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, I cannot sum it up any better. All all respect to all women all over the world until the world changes, and hopefully the Middle East will catch up. Um, yeah, we will stand up for what we believe is the right thing. Thank you so much, Naveen, and thank you
Thank you.
for everyone who attended the live, and thank you everyone for who will be watching this video later. Thanks
Thanks,
for
Adam.
watching.